A man that focuses on the results, not the glory, which I respect very much.
Pick your ecosystem. So the play is pick your ecosystem. Know it really well.
Well, how do I pick the ecosystem? Assuming there are options, right? Some people don't have options just based on what they do.
You have to set proper expectations of timing, especially with leadership. This has happened several times throughout my career.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked. We've got a very exciting episode today where we are going to have Mike Stocker, partnerships, let's just say legend, a man that focuses on the results, not the glory, which I respect very much. But very excited to have this conversation. As a reminder, we're going to have a tactical conversation, talk about the different unlocks that drive actual outcomes from some of the best leaders in the game. So, Mike, please tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Cool, Greg. It's so great to be here with you. I'll tell people about myself quickly, and we can just dive right into it. But so I'm the VP of Partnerships here at CallRail. Been here just about 3 years. I manage our strategic agency and ecosystem partners. So I've got the whole partnership group. Prior to this, I was at a company called NextRoll, AdRoll, RollWorks, kind of a large thing. RollWorks is now called AdRoll ABM. I was there as their SVP of partnerships and helped them build out partnerships all the way from just myself to a decent sized team. So I had a great experience doing that. And then prior to that, I was at a little company that no one knows called Meta. At Facebook, and I managed Facebook's MarTech partnerships. So think Salesforce, HubSpot, Zapier, and several other companies. So globally with Facebook, which is really, really exciting and a way to see things at scale. And then going way back further, I was at Marketo and helped build out their partner ecosystem. Of course, Marketo is now part of Adobe. And then long ago, I was actually an entrepreneur myself, similar to you, Greg, building businesses and trying to create value for customers. So that's kind of a little bit about me. But I'm excited to dive in and chat with you about all things partnerships, Greg.
I love it. I'm super excited. And I love the call out on the entrepreneurship early in the career, because as I will not stop saying, I believe partnerships is the most entrepreneurial job in a business. And having done both now, I can tell you it is the exact same thing as starting and running a business, is building a partner program from the ground up. So, or even maybe not even from the ground up, but jumping right in there. Let's start with something exciting, Mike. Tell us, what was the kind of biggest unlock that you have learned in your career? What did it accomplish, or what has it accomplished, I should say? And why do you believe that it worked, and kind of what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think it's a big encompassing question, and I'm going to try and give you the best answer that I can think of. I've been racking my brain on something that would be valuable for the listeners, right? And so what I would say is pick your ecosystem. So the play is pick your ecosystem. Know it really well. Understand the opportunity, the growth levers, and kind of how your own company fits into that ecosystem. What is the mutual value prop for your end customers and for the customers of that platform ecosystem that you want to partner with? Think of the value that's created there. And so the big unlock for my career, especially the last, say, 10 years, of course, I mentioned I was at Marketo, and some people are going to scratch their heads at this, but the ecosystem that I've actually invested a lot in and seen great value in, the play that I worked on, is partnering with HubSpot. And so many of you know, Marketo and HubSpot used to be fierce rivals. Maybe you still are. But HubSpot's got a great partner ecosystem. And I've just seen great value by leaning in and working with that ecosystem. And so I wanted to actually share with you, I've done it now 3 or 4 times. I'm a 4-time HubSpot app partner. I don't know that there's many people that can share that they've been at 4 different companies that have been HubSpot app partners. And I think each of the places that I've been have been successful within the HubSpot ecosystem, and very successful, in fact. So The first one really is I'll start with, I could go any number of examples here, but I'm going to start kind of chronologically. So, the success that we saw at Facebook, working with HubSpot, that's a big partnership. But actually, when I started working on it, it was fairly small. Uh, I can't really share exact numbers, but let's say we were doing less than say 100 million in total value of the partnership when I took on the partnership. And after working on the partnership for a couple of years, it was over $1 billion. So we grew it tremendously. And the way that we did that is working on driving more valuable integrations for end customers. So we did things like we rolled out more lead ads capabilities. So lead ads is one of the product units, the ad units, and how that worked by sending the leads from Facebook into HubSpot for marketers to use, right? But then we also looked at other things. So custom audiences. So can audiences come segmentation and lists and audiences, can that come from HubSpot into Facebook for better targeting and trying to drive more of that? But then as Facebook matured as a company and had more additional products, things like offline conversion, better pixel tracking, chat integrations, all of those things, we worked to broaden the integration with HubSpot so that way we had multiple lines of integrations that all provided value for the end customers. And so I was able to work really closely with the product teams between Facebook and HubSpot to drive just great product value. And when you have great products and great integrations that are working between the companies, customers will leverage it and customers will see value. And so we were able to see some of these integrations grow just tremendously to tens of thousands of end customers seeing value from it. Not many places can you say that you could drive this type of volume and this type of adoption and growth. So really it was around building great end solutions for the customers, really understanding what their needs were across the different products. So we looked at Facebook's ad products, we looked at HubSpot's capabilities, we looked at what the end customer is looking for and how could we build those and drive that value. And so one example that I'll give you that came out of this that I was very proud of was the case study that we did with Airstream. So I'm sure the listeners know Airstream, the trailer company, that's shiny silver UFO looking trailers. So Airstream was a customer of a HubSpot Platinum agency called Element 3. And so Element 3 was doing some great work with Airstream. They were leveraging the lead ads capabilities. And we did a case study with them. And so they talked about the value of Facebook lead ads. They talked about HubSpot's capabilities that bring those in and being able to engage with them and converse with their end customers and set up appointments and all those great things. And all the great work that the agency did in terms of setting this up and having the strategy and that. So it's a three-way case study, which by the way, those are really exceptionally valuable for HubSpot because it shows the value of their agency partners and their app partners, as well as others, right? And so that case study, I think several years ago, they had Airstream trailers on the inbound show floor. We printed up posters. They were in every Facebook office around the world. So I traveled to London and traveled to other places and actually saw this Airstream trailer poster printed up as a major case study that was super valuable. So we were able to show that through our integrations that we built and the way that we work closely together with the product teams and others, that an end customer was seeing real value from these integrations and even drove a case study. So that was one example of leaning into the HubSpot ecosystem, working really closely with their product teams, driving really great integrations and value, and a case study that was with an agency. So all of those things were great, leaning into the HubSpot ecosystem. A couple more that I'll touch on briefly is the HubSpot partnership at RollWorks, which again is now AdRoll ABM. We built an integration there at RollWorks that was really matching the HubSpot ICP. So we looked at HubSpot and we said, wow, HubSpot serves the needs of small and mid-sized businesses primarily, but is moving more into the enterprise and growing up market and that. How can we develop an ABM platform that really addresses that market? A lot of the ABM platforms at the time, several years back, were focused on enterprise, and they were quite expensive platforms. And so we said, hey, let's try and design and develop an integration and partnership product between our companies that really matches the HubSpot ICP so that we can drive mass adoption and all of that. We went out and listened to a number of customers. We got market feedback. We iterated until we got it right. And now I think if you looked, AdRoll ABM, RollWorks is one of the top, if not, I think it's in the top few ABM partners within that section of the HubSpot app ecosystem. Something like 900 or 1,000 end customers, which is really tremendous for that business. And again, it was just through understanding the ICP, understanding the needs of that customer base, and really working closely with the HubSpot team to build that partnership. And then the last one here is I am currently at CallRail. And when I joined back in 2023 here at CallRail, I said, wow, we need to do more with HubSpot. I've seen this success. I've worked on this playbook. This is what you asked about, right? What's one play? Well, one play is leaning into the HubSpot ecosystem. So I brought that play here to CallRail back in 2023. And we launched a campaign that talked about that CallRail had 3,000 installs. We had just crossed the 3,000 install mark, which is pretty considerable for the HubSpot app ecosystem. I'll tell you, Greg, I just went in and looked, and we're now over 5,000. And that's just in a couple of short years. And how did we do that? So CallRail invested really heavily in our integration. You hear the same theme. We invested heavily in our integration with several different updates throughout the last few years to improve it. We were HubSpot certified. We were recertified again, I think not too long ago. But also not just doing the product updates, getting certified, all those good things. Those are all very important. But we also were eager to lean into the HubSpot partner team. So we participated in a number of new partner programs, things like the Partner Growth Accelerator, which, Greg, I know you know really well, the co-marketing program, the co-sales programs. We've been a huge sponsor of Inbound the last few years. So this last year, we were here in my town, San Francisco, and CallRail had, I would say, the best booth. Come argue with me about that if you want. But we had a whole basketball theme. You could shoot hoops in our booth, and so it was that leaning into the ecosystem and really just being like eager to do more with HubSpot, to find ways to do more co-marketing, to find ways to collaborate more, that have helped us grow from 3,000 to 5,000. And I think we're going to continue to grow further by leaning into the HubSpot ecosystem. And so that's the one play. I know I just went through a lot of different companies and a lot of different things, but that was like a one play: is pick your ecosystem, know it really well, lean into it, understand the opportunity, the growth levers, and then just run with it and really work on that.
I love that. I mean, there's so much we could unpack there. But in the interest of time, I think I'll just ask one question that comes to mind for me, which is, you know, a lot of the items you mentioned after selecting your ecosystem are kind of standard ecosystem development items. But I think a lot of people are going to ask, well, how do I pick the ecosystem? Assuming there are options, right? Some people don't have options just based on what they do, but assuming they have options of different ecosystems to invest in. And I know a lot of companies are typically trying to decide between like a HubSpot and a Salesforce. And I'm not saying like, let's make this a pitch for HubSpot over Salesforce, but like objectively speaking, what are your criteria for deciding like, okay, we're not going to be able to do all of these ecosystems well. If we're going to lean into one, this is how we pick it.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I sort of touched on it a little bit, but it's really around what is your ICP? Who are you selling to? So ICP, for those that don't know, is ideal customer profile. Who is it that you're selling to? And what I've done is I always look at what a lot. Actually, it's surprising at some companies I've been at, they don't think of the technographics of the companies that they're trying to sell to. And what I mean by that is they don't think of the tech stack that company uses. And so what I would do is I would go in and look at my customers. Who am I trying to sell to? Who's my target, that ideal customer profile? But I would ask, what pieces of software do they have in their tech stack? Are they primarily, so let's say they're primarily enterprise, or they're in a particular vertical or something like that. that Salesforce is dominant, then Salesforce probably makes more sense. Or are they in, there's smaller mid-sized businesses that are growing rapidly, um, maybe, aspirationally want to be enterprise and that, then, they might be HubSpot, right? And it just depends on what's in their tech stack and what your normal customers are using. Sometimes you find that your customers are using both. At RollWorks, the customers were using both, and we had to have great integrations to both major platforms and had to lean in there. And then it was just a question of which platform is willing to also work with you, which platform has a receptive and good partner program that you can actually get into and drive the impact and results that you're looking for. I know Salesforce has a great kind of co-selling program where you pay a percentage of the revenue that you make from it, but it incentivizes their salespeople, right? HubSpot doesn't have some of that. But it's a little harder to get the attention of their salespeople because there's not that incentive. And so there's different benefits from each. But I would say to answer your question, it really is look at the ICP of your customers and see what is in their tech stack, and what are the major platforms that they're using. And by the way, that will also give you a roadmap into some of the other smaller integrations that you should be building as well that will provide value. So it'll give you an insight into the major platforms as well as some of the satellite adjunct tech platforms that you should be integrating to.
And I'm glad you said that because that actually began to answer a follow-up question I had, which is I think folks would love to know, like, how much of the success you've seen in, let's just say, the HubSpot ecosystem, and let's just use CallRail as an example. How much of the success is directly success from the center of the ecosystem, in this case, HubSpot, and how much of the success is in partnering with other HubSpot partners, be it other adjacent technologies or agencies?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the bulk of the work that you do with a major platform will return the most of the value through that major platform. So that is true. Most of your put that you put into that major platform, you'll get most of that back from the major platform. And we've seen that. However, I would say there's probably another. Maybe you get 60 or 70% of the value back from the major platform. There's another 30 or 40% that you get back through partnering with the other pieces, the smaller companies that are revolving around that platform that are also good for you to integrate with. I'll give you another thing to think about is, as I mentioned, you want to look at the ICP and the tech software that your ideal customers are using. When you're selling to vertical markets, for example, CallRail sells a lot to home services, right? So we went and looked at vertical solutions, vertical CRMs and other things for the home services space and tried to identify who are those important platforms that we should partner with. Well, ServiceTitan is one and Jobber is another, and there's a couple of those. We also service the legal space. And so we said, who should we partner with in legal? And so companies like Clio and MyCase and others came up as important for us to partner with because by partnering with them, we are able to speak more relevantly to that joint customer that we sell to. We're able to do a lot of co-marketing with them that gives us better, relevance, and we can speak the language and we can meet the actual audience in the areas that they're at. So I think it's thinking things like that, like going out and seeing what are those platforms, and then what are the adjunct ones around it, and trying to make sure that you partner with it. And then it's probably that 60-40 split with the major platforms and then some of the smaller ones around it in terms of the value you get back.
Okay, I love that. Awesome. Well, let's move into another fun conversation. I'm sure it might be even harder to pick. What's a play or strategy you've run that uh, just blew up in your face? Just you had the highest of hopes, and it just failed miserably, but it was a very valuable learning lesson for you.
Thanks for asking. This is a hard one. As a partnership leader, you never want anything to fail, right? But it does happen. I always equate partnerships. At the beginning, it's a hypothesis. You have a hypothesis. So think back to your science days when you were in school. You have a hypothesis of what you think might happen, but it doesn't always come true. And so the one that I have is at Marketo. We were really early. This is I'm going way back to 2015 here, but working on the combination of ad tech and martech. And ad tech uses things like pixels and IDs and all cookies and this type of thing. MarTech uses things like email and actual PII and identifier, like real data. And so connecting the two was challenging. And so I actually had a hypothesis of working with a company called Axiom. Uh, Many of you know Axiom. Axiom has this rich database of amazing consumer data that they have, and you could leverage it for things like enrichment, segmentation, better targeting, all of those good things. So my hypothesis was, hey, you've got great data in your Marketo. Potentially, you could partner with Axiom, and you could tie the two together, and then you could really build great targeting and all of that. Well, problem is, I was way too early, I think, on some of this. Like the technology just wasn't there. Figuring out the data keys and the data sharing never fully materialized. And I'll tell you, despite the best efforts, I mean, we had dozens of meetings with the leaders, senior leaders from Axiom would fly out to Marketo in California. We'd have tons of meetings. We'd have our product teams get together. We'd really try and hash it out. We couldn't quite yet figure that out in terms of how to do it in a privacy compliant way that met all the various regulations and the changing landscape of that. And so we put a lot of time and effort in, Greg, and despite our best intentions, even a great potential use case that we knew would have value, we just got derailed, and it was a huge failure. So when you're thinking of these hypotheses, uh, sometimes you have to look at all the different permutations of it. And one of the areas that could get you is regulation or technology ability. We were just too far ahead. And so, yeah, that was one really quite painful learning. I'm still friends with the Axiom folks that were there. Over 10 plus years later, we're still Facebook friends. So how about that? Like, we, we weren't successful in the partnership, but we built a strong friendship and bonds over that shared experience of the failure there.
Fair enough. So if I heard you correctly, the lesson is don't just scope all of the potential upsides, scope all of the potential downsides as well. And look, you're not always going to be able to predict everything. Um, but it sounds like, just know the risks involved before you invest.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do love that you're still connected with them. That's my favorite part of the job is that regardless of whether it goes anywhere, like you're just building friends and connections for your entire career. Hopefully it goes somewhere though, and you're not just doing the old hugs and chugs, but you know,
That
everybody's got some of those.
That's right. I mean, at the beginning, you said I'm a person that likes to drive results, and I certainly do. But you also have to build strong relationships. I think partnerships, one of our biggest things is trust. And the trust that you build through an experience like that is super valuable. Whether it's a success or not, you have to build trust to be honest and ethical. And that'll allow you to work with those folks again in the future at future companies or future roles that you're in. So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right. And just to wrap it out, what are 2 or 3 like just things that unlocks that you wish you knew earlier in your partnership's career?
This is a good one. I had to think about this one for a while, Greg, because there's so many different things. So I've got three for you. So the first one is partnerships don't happen overnight. And you and I briefly touched on this, but they're like a small business. You have to set proper expectations of timing, especially with leadership. This has happened several times throughout my career. Um, uh, you'll get leaders that expect revenue immediately, for example. It's very hard for partners and partnerships to create revenue immediately. It doesn't happen on day one. It's oftentimes takes some time and some investment. I think that length of time is shortening. I think as we get better technology, as we get better tools that do the tracking and analysis and all of that, we're going to get better at that, and it won't take as long. But partnerships take time. You have to invest in it. You have to have exploratory meetings. You have to build the hypothesis. You have to build the integration in many cases. And then you have to start getting sales teams interested. You have to start doing co-selling or co-marketing together. There's a whole variety of things that you have to do that are preliminary steps. So I guess set expectations properly, that partnerships don't happen overnight. It requires a bit of an investment and some time. Now, I think that's shrinking, but it does require time. So that would be one thing is, they don't happen overnight. It does take some time and investment. The second one is, partners help in many different ways. I've talked a lot in various different podcasts and articles about my four lenses of partner impact. So the four lenses, just briefly, are co-marketing, doing co-marketing together, enhancing product capabilities. So by partnering together and building integrations, you have more product capabilities. Partner referred resale revenue. So partners drive actual sales revenue. And then the last one is through improved retention. So when joint customers are using an integration, typically they have better improved retention and they stay with your company, they churn less, all of that. So those are the four lenses. And so the learning is uh, partners impact through those four lenses in most cases. You want partners that have all of the lenses. But be best friends with your RevOps team. And even better, have a partner RevOps or a partner ops role so that you can report on the collective impact of partnerships. So look, partners impact all those different ways I talked about, four lenses, right? Maybe more lenses that I haven't thought of. But if you don't show the impact across those and you show just one or just the other, you're missing major stakeholders. Your CRO is going to say, how many sales are you driving for me? Your marketing person is going to say, how many MQLs and marketing opportunities are you driving for me? Your chief customer officer is going to say, how are you helping me with churn and that? If you could actually address all of those by having a strong RevOps team or a partner ops team that can actually show you that data that you could take and say, look, this is how partners are helping, you will get more investment in partnerships. If you don't do that, you are in trouble because you become off on a silo or you become not important to certain major constituents within your company. So I'd highly encourage you to be best friends with your RevOps team. It's been wonderful for me as an unlock. The last one is always remember that partnerships are like a three-legged stool. Okay. Greg's looking at me like, what do you mean? There are three primary constituents, three primary people that you have to think about in a partnership. And everyone says, well, what? Partnerships are typically two. It's your company, it's the partner company. But what's the one that everyone forgets, which is the end customer? So if you think about it in three ways, your stool will fall over if you only think of the two of you. You have to think of the end customer. Everyone forgets that end customer, but all three constituents, all three parties have to see value through a partnership. And I guarantee you, if all three parties are seeing value and it's win-win-win all around, you will have a successful partnership because end customers will see that value and they'll start to adopt and they'll start to do all the things that create the flywheel for success in a partnership. So those are my three unlocks that I thought I'd share with you, Greg. What do you think?
I think those are awesome. If I had to pick three of my favorite unlocks, those might be all in the top three because I mean, executive alignment and just reporting and just that cross-functional alignment and just the tracking around that and friends with, I mean, see, I got spoiled. I didn't know at the time that I got spoiled, but my first job in partnerships, we had partner ops. Like my first partner manager job, we had partner ops. I had no idea that that was like 10 years ago, by the way. I
Wow,
didn't know that that was a rarity. It was,
that is a rarity.
yeah, it's still a rarity. So 10 years ago, it was a virtual impossibility. So yeah, I agree with that so much. Just tracking that, and I'll be honest. Like if you have your CRO, well, you'll always have your CRO asking. If you have your CMO asking about the MQLs, and you have your CCO asking about retention, like you're already ahead of the curve because they're just the fact that they're even paying attention to ask the question is huge.
That's right.
Quite frankly. So you better have an answer if they are already leaning in to ask the question. I completely agree with that. Um, and I mean, it's just, yeah, those are such valuable unlocks that I would say are absolutely mission critical for success today, period. So like I have no notes. Those were fantastic. Thank you for sharing them.
Awesome. Awesome.
And in general, Mike, I mean, this has been a master class in just tactical execution at the highest level. So thank you for sharing these insights. I can't wait to share them with the audience when they listen.
All right. Well, Greg, it's awesome to be here on Partnerships Unlocked. I'm happy to hear from anyone. If anyone wants to reach out, add me on LinkedIn, reach out, ask any questions. I'm around. But Greg, it's been an honor to chat with you. It's always a great conversation. So thanks so much.
Of course, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining, Mike.
All right.